greetings to you. My name is David Wyrick, and I'm from Akron, your neighbor to the north, and on the Great Trail Council board, and also serve at the Central Region level on the Central Region Executive Committee as the Connective Relationships Chair. And I want to thank Bernie Miner for the opportunity to be with you yet again. I always enjoy being at the BPI. Gosh, I don't know how many years now. Even though we're meeting virtually, it's a pleasure to be with you. And we are going to be looking at questions effective leaders need to be asking. At first, the important question is, what does effective mean? We can use that term a lot when something's effective. Well, let's go back to the mission of the Boy Scouts of America. And you've heard this probably a zillion times like I have, but it always bears repeating because it's important. Our mission is to prepare young people to make ethical and moral choices over their lifetimes by instilling in them the values of the Scout Oath and Law. Now, effective leaders do this. And when I say effective, I mean we have programming where, programming are the things that we do, all the things that we do. From that first lion meeting all the way up until a scout becomes a leader, and it keeps on going, where lives are transformed. Not just something we do, but there's change in a life so that people can be living by those morals and ethics that we learn in the Scout Oath of Law. And that's not only for youth, but that's for adults as well. The goal is that our youth's lives are transformed, but adults' lives are also changed. To be scout-like, that means really, really valuing and understanding the importance of those 12 points of the Scout Law. It's seen there's significant and continued changes in how others live. Not only the significant and continued changes in the individual, but in the others, the people that are in each individual's lives as well. All right, but leaders in all levels of scouting can be stuck when trying to do this, when trying to be effective. Everything rises and falls on leadership, right? Everything rises and falls on leadership. We're only as good as the leaders we are or the leaders that we have. And leaders in all levels of scouting can be stuck because they just aren't asking the right questions. Now, what do I mean by stuck? Take a look at this video clip. I just love it.
Whoa, that's not good.
Oh, I don't need this. I'm already late.
Somebody will come. Anybody out there?
Do you have a phone?
No. Sorry. Somebody! Hello? There are two people stuck on an escalator and we need help. Now, would somebody please do something? I don't believe this. You gotta be kidding me.
I'm gonna cry.
Well, there's not enough left to do, is it?
Hello? Hey, don't worry about it. I'll fix it in a second.
He said he can fix it. All right. All right. That's more like it. He says he can fix it.
So let's look at these. Question: do you understand the three basic responsibilities? Now, what do I mean by the three basic responsibilities? Well, no matter where you are in scouting as a leader, whether at the unit level or the district, the council level, there are three important things you must remember and you must be aware of and you must understand. First of all, you have to recruit. Everyone has to recruit. Units have to recruit. Districts have to recruit. Councils have to recruit. By getting that newer group in to keep the program going. And we've been recruiting in scouting for well over 100 years. But not only that, we have to retain. We have to keep those who are in the program, keep them interested by providing that great programming that I talked about earlier. We also have to sustain. Yeah, we have to sustain. Yeah, that means all that fundraising and all that income, that money that we have to be able to make everything work. And all of these three things are dependent on one another. We recruit, that leads to retaining. We have to have the sustaining to be able to be the recruit, to be able to retain. If you take one of them out, you don't have that recruiting. You can retain as many as you want, sustain, but you're not going to continue to grow, and eventually it'll fizzle out. If you don't retain, all you're going to do is recruit, they'll drop out. Recruit, they'll drop out. If you don't sustain, you're not going to have anything to work with. And we know that that is important. And sustaining is also not only the finances that we have, but the sustaining of equipment, the sustaining of needs for every level of scouting. All of these work together. And when they do work together, that's what leads to our growth. That's what leads to the growth. And if these three aren't happening, then growth will never happen. And leaders get that. Leaders understand that. Leaders realize that, listen, if we're not recruiting, if we're not retaining, if we're not sustaining, then there ain't nothing that's going to be happening. All right, second question. Do you have the right scouters in the right positions? Now remember, I said everything rises and falls on leadership. But just as you can't use a screwdriver to pound in a nail, you can't have the wrong leader in a position. You can't have the wrong person to oversee a responsibility to which the person has absolutely no clue or no expertise. See, one size doesn't fit all when it comes to people or the teams that we lead. You just can't plug holes. You have to have the right people in the right position. I love what Jim Collins, he wrote a book several years ago, Good to Great, which is still a phenomenal book for leadership, and I highly recommend it. But he said letting the wrong people hang around is unfair to all the right people, as they inevitably find themselves compensating for the inadequacies of the wrong people. Worse, it can drive away the best people, and that is so true. Or another way to think about it is think of leadership like a number system, numbers 1 through 10. You as a leader need to keep your leadership skills high. I'm talking about 8, 9, and 10. You need to keep your leadership skills high, especially if you are leading. If you are a unit leader or a committee chair or a district chair or a council, leadership role, a vice president, president. You need to keep your leadership skills high, 8, 9, 10, because when you keep your leadership skills high, you will attract other 8s, 9s, and 10s and pinpoint them and put them in the proper positions. If your leadership skills are 3, 4, and 5, yeah, guess what? It's not that you will attract 3, 4s, and 5s. No, if your leadership skills are low, you will repel. You'll repel the 8s, 9s, and 10s. They aren't going to want to work with you because they're used to working with leaders of the same caliber or the same expertise as they are. So keep your leadership skills high and get the right people in the right positions. If somebody has no clue about finances, then they have no clue about finances. Don't put them in a financial role. Or if they're not a people person, don't put them in a leadership role that's going to have to do a lot with creating relationships. Find the right people for the right positions. Next question that leaders are: is there an elephant in the room? Great question. An elephant in the room. Now, what does that mean? It's a topic, a question, an issue that's obvious. and everybody knows about it, but no one is going to want to mention it or wants to discuss it because it makes some of them uncomfortable, or they feel it's got a political embarrassment, or it's dangerous. Take a look at this. It explains it, I think, better than I can.
Welcome to English at the Movies, where we teach you American English heard at the movies. Today we are visiting the Parr family in the movie The Incredibles 2. Listen for the phrase, the elephant in the room.
Did you wash your hands? With soap? Did you dry them?
What? Is this all vegetables? Who wanted all vegetables?
I did. So, are we going to talk about it?
What?
The elephant in the room.
What elephant?
Mom's new job.
So, what do you think the elephant in the room means? Is it the big pet everyone loves, or the issue everyone is avoiding? Listen again. Did you have the right answer?
What? Is this all vegetables? Who wanted all vegetables?
I did. So, are we going to talk about it?
What?
The elephant in the room.
What elephant?
Mom's new job.
The elephant in the room means the issue everyone is avoiding. The Parr family is acting as if everything is normal, but they are all thinking about how their lives will change when Mom leaves to save the world. And that's English at the Movies.
The elephant in the room. So many times, indeed, we have that problem. That problem where there is that topic or that issue that nobody is going to want to talk about. And I mean, I've seen it where there have been leaders that are just ineffective. I've seen it where there's been the Cub Master is the committee chair and his wife is the treasurer of the group. And between the two of them, they run everything. And nobody dare question anything. Or nobody never dare say anything. Land's sakes, nobody seems to know where the money goes. And there's total control. That's an elephant in the room, and nobody wants to talk about it. I've seen it where there's been ineffective people that are trying to run programs at a district level, and nobody wants to talk about it. But everybody knows what the problem is. So you got to deal with the elephant in the room. Question 4. Are you giving your 1 hour a week? Yeah, I have that in quotes. And you've seen these patches where it shows these laughing scouters, 1 hour a week, 1 hour a week, and everybody's cracking up and they're laughing. But why are they laughing? Well, the reason they're laughing is because they know it's more than just an hour a week. And whatever level you are in at scouting, you have to understand and realize that this is going to be a time commitment. I serve at a regional level, and it's more than an hour a week in what I do. I'm on the phone a lot, especially now with the pandemic, and in a lot of meetings, Zoom meetings and calls, and preparing things and reading a lot of things. It's more than an hour a week. I love Walt Disney, and Walt Disney once said, "We work hard to do the best job possible." And that's it. You work hard. No matter where your role is, you give of your time. And if you don't understand what I'm talking about, you look to a cub pack, a cub master who is so dedicated to the program that all he or she thinks about is that pack and gives so much time and energy. And no matter what level of scouting you are, you should be giving the same amount of time and dedication and energy. Are you giving your quote unquote hour a week? 5th question, is there anything broken that needs fixed? We have a problem in the Midwest. And I'll tell you, that problem is this. If we ignore bad news long enough, we think it'll go away. And that's true. And we all have these things that, the drippy faucet or the drippy drain or the problem with, a leaky roof or, if we ignore it long enough, perhaps it'll go away. Well, it's the same in our scouting organizations, whether it be at the unit or district or council level. Is anything broke that needs fixed? And it could be the emperor's new clothes scenario. You know that old story about the emperor and these shysters came to the emperor and said, "Oh, this is a magic robe and it's gorgeous," and they held up nothing, and it was this nothing. They were just holding up nothing, but they said that only the wise could see this robe, and so the emperor put this pretend robe on which didn't exist and walked around in his underwear and paraded up and down the streets, and a little boy said, "Hey, the emperor's not wearing any clothes," and everybody laughed, and everybody realized, wait a minute, this kid was right. And sometimes it's just a matter of somebody speaking up and say, wait a minute, this is broken, and we've got to fix this. And that could be in leadership, to where sometimes some people are just so busy. Life interferes, work interferes, family interferes, and they just no longer can give what they used to give. Well, someone has to raise their hand up and say, wait a minute, we got to get this fixed. Or it could be a process to where a unit is working under an old ancient process that just isn't effective anymore. Sometimes this process, an old process, reminds me of do you remember the old Xerox machines? The original ones that came out, to where you had your original copy, and that's great. And you can make a copy of that copy, and it turned out okay. But then if you made a copy of the copy, it got a little bit worse. But then you took the copy of the copy and you made a copy, and then you took the copy of the copy of the copy of the copy and made a copy, and it kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And over the years, the process of the way units do their leadership can just get worse and out of focus and blurry. And sometimes somebody needs to raise their hand and say, hey, this needs fixed. Or could be communication. So many times people aren't communicating at all. We're going to talk about that in our next question. Could be the attitude that people have, and we're also going to address that in one of our next questions too. But attitude is huge among leaders, and attitude, we'll get to that. And then there could be just plain ignorance, where people say, I have no clue. And they admit that, and people realize, wait a minute, this person has no clue what they're doing. We got to fix this. We got to help this person to be able to understand and have the knowledge base necessary to be able to do what they are supposed to do. All right, so let's talk about that. How often are you connecting with those with whom you serve? Now, in today's day and age, holy smokes, there's no reason not to be communicating. I've been in scouting for over 50 years, and I know that it used to be you could communicate two ways, by the mail or by a phone call. And that was it. That was all there is. But now we have so much available to us. We have, of course, emails, one of the greatest inventions around. And if you're not using emails to send things out, then wow, that's that. But that's almost old school now. Of course, there's phone calls. And here's what's really kind of neat is so many people don't realize that most cell phones, I think every cell phone, can at least do a three-way call. And you can get a lot accomplished on a three-way call. Texting is all over the place, right? We all text. And matter of fact, people will respond to a text, even with a little thumbs up or whatever, when they get their text. We have the whole conference calls, to which the telephone can be used. That's almost old school now, because that's been replaced with Skype or Zoom or FaceTime. And so many of these things are free. Especially Zoom. Oh my gosh, if you would have bought stock in Zoom a year ago, you'd be a millionaire now. But the whole thing of communicating in that way is just a thing. And of course, in-person visits. Not so much now. But afterwards, after we get through this pandemic, of course, in-person visits. Hey, let's have lunch. Hey, let's have breakfast. Hey, let's communicate. I also like business cards. Even though business cards may seem old school, they're not. They're still around and they're still very popular. And creating a business card is important. And to be able to give it to somebody, they've got something there that they can hold on to and they can have. And I have a collection of business cards that I use when I need to contact, say, like somebody who grinds stumps or somebody who cuts trees or somebody who does plumbing. They're very important. Anyway, how often is often enough to connect? I don't think you can have too much connection. I think in today's day and age, you can use all of these things that are available to us to be able to communicate. I hate when they say, well, this was a communication breakdown or this was just a lack of communication. That should never be happening, especially now. What must we never lose sight of? This is an attitude thing again, all right? And I'm married a Disney freak, okay? I've become a Disney fan. And Walt Disney, of course, said this important statement. He said, I only hope that we don't lose sight of one thing, that it was all started by a mouse. One thing, Mickey Mouse got it going. He had had a lot of defeat before that. A lot of people don't know that. But one thing. And we must never lose sight of our mission to prepare young people to make those ethical and moral choices over their lifetimes by instilling in them the values of the Scout Oath and Law. Now, you should know that, and you should be able to repeat that statement. If you especially are a committee chair or a leader, and you need to be reminding that. And you should have that memorized. Why, I can say that with my eyes closed. Watch. To prepare young people to make... Wait a minute, you can't see me. Anyway, I know that, to make ethical and moral choices over their lifetimes by instilling in them the values of the Scout Oath and Law. And that needs to be repeated. You got to say it. You got to spray it. You got to know that and constantly remind people that, because sometimes they lose sight of the fact. They lose sight of the reason why they are here. I have counseled, gone into as a third party, a neutral party in a committee meeting of a unit a few times in my as a council chaplain and as a council vice president. And I have stopped the meeting and I very politely asked, "Why are you here? Why are you here?" to all those scouters sitting across the table. And I say, if you're not here to help prepare those young people out there in that meeting right now to make those ethical and moral choices, instilling in them the values of the Scout Oath of Law, then leave. Because that's why we should all be here. It's that vital and that important. And effective leaders in scouting get that. They understand that. And they're not afraid to say that over and over and over again when needed. 8th question. Do you understand the most important relationship in all of scouting? The most important relationship in all of scouting. Hint. If this relationship isn't there, then nothing is. Is it the unit to the district? Nope. Is it the unit to the council? Nope. Is it the unit to the charter partner? Nope. Is it the unit leader to the committee? Nope. Is it the unit leader to the commissioner? Nope. Now, these are all important relationships. The unit has to have a relationship with district leaders. The unit has to have a relationship with council leaders, to the charter partner, to the leaders, to the committee, to the commissioner. All that. Those are important, but not the most important. The most important is unit leader to individual scout and parents. If that scoutmaster, cubmaster, crew advisor, whatever, does not have a great relationship with his or her scouts and the parents, there ain't nothing happening. I love this Rockwell painting, which, by the way, the Rockwells are right, if you haven't seen them yet, it's worth a day trip. Drive up to Warren. All the scouting Rockwells are at the Medici Museum in Warren, okay? That's not that far away from all of us. If you've not seen them, go see them. You can literally reach out and touch those paintings, but you won't. But it's a little side note. Great day trip. See them while you can. Now you have to call and make reservations, and you can easily find the phone number, the Medici Museum in Warren. But look at this picture. Rockwell painting the scout getting his eagle, mom's pinning the pin on the young man, dad's looking on with pride. But look who's over the shoulder of the scout. See that? You see that scoutmaster? He's grinning, because he developed a relationship with that young man when he was 10 or 11. See, he's even got his hand on the boy's shoulder. All right? A lot of people don't notice that in that picture. He's right there because he's a part of that young man's life, because he's created such a great, healthy relationship with that young man. Now, today, we create healthy relationships with all the youth, boys, girls, all healthy relationships, because if that unit leader to Scout and to Scout's parents' relationships, if that's not happening, nothing's going to happen. Which leads me to number 9. Do you understand the second most important relationship in all of scouting? Unit to district? Nope. Unit to council? Nope. Unit chart of party? Those are important. Don't get me wrong. The second most important is leader to leader. Yeah, if the leaders aren't getting along, if they don't have a good relationship, then again, the unit is not going to survive. The district is not going to survive. And that's a great relationship between the unit leader and the members of the committee. That's a great relationship between the unit leader and with the commissioner. That's a great relationship with the unit leader and the assistants, his or her assistants as well. And this Rockwell painting, which is in Warren, you can see the thing. You can stand there and go, oh my gosh, there it is. And don't touch it, but lean in and look at the detail. It'll blow you away. But that scoutmaster, there he is. The kids are sound asleep. He's just sitting there boiling some water or making some coffee or whatever as the stars are out. But right behind him are a bunch of other leaders, okay? And they're cheering him on, and they've got a great relationship going on. And they understand that their relationship with him or her and his or her relationship back to them is vital for that unit to be a great unit. Does your scouting group allow for honest dialogue? What do I mean by honest dialogue? I'm talking about what we call the Abilene paradox. If you're not familiar with that, take a look at this.
It was a typical July afternoon in the little town of Coleman, Texas. A hot wind from the panhandle was blowing fine-grained Texas topsoil right through my in-laws' house, while my wife and I, along with her parents, indulged in what for Coleman was a rip-roaring afternoon of entertainment.
Domino.
Your game, hon.
That's another one for Jerry. Shuffle 'em. Just my luck get a son-in-law that can beat me at domino.
Since those days back in Coleman, I've gone on to study people and how they interact in all kinds of organizations. But the more I learn about what is now termed organizational dynamics, the more I'm reminded of one particular hot summer afternoon.
5.
15. It's getting on to 4 o'clock. What do you want to do about supper?
Well, what do y'all say we get in the car, go to Abilene, have supper at the cafe?
Well, that sounds like a good idea. I'd like to go. How about you, Jerry?
How far is it to Abilene?
53 miles.
You got the air conditioning fixed in that Buick yet? Nope. Yeah, well, it sounds like a good idea to me. But I don't want to go unless your mama wants to go.
Well, of course I want to go. You don't think I want to stay here and eat leftovers out of the icebox, do you?
And so, we all piled into the furnace and headed off for Abilene.
How about I clear these? Y'all can chat a bit.
After a supper that could have provided a first-rate testimonial for antacid, some 4 hours and 106 miles later, we returned to Coleman. For a long while, there was absolute teetotal silence.
It was a great trip, wasn't it?
And then, the floodgates were opened.
Well, to tell you the truth, I'd rather have stayed right here. If only y'all hadn't pressured me to go along.
What do you mean, y'all? I didn't want to go. I only went along to satisfy the rest of you. You're the culprits.
Don't call me a culprit. You and Daddy and Mama are the ones who wanted to go. I just went along to be sociable.
Hey, I didn't want to go to Abilene to begin with. I was just making conversation. How'd I know y'all to take me up on it and ruin my whole day?
I can't believe we went to Abilene when nobody wanted to go.
Now, if you're wondering if our family ever resolved our conflict, the answer is no. Because strange as it may seem, we never really were in conflict.
You didn't think I wanted to go, did you?
But why did you suggest that we go to Abilene in the first place?
I was just testing the waters. Y'all took me serious. Ruined a perfectly good Sunday afternoon.
I later came to call it the Abilene paradox, when groups of people take actions in contradiction to what they, as individuals, really want, and end up defeating the very purposes they set out to achieve.
See, that's the thing. Leaders can get stuck. And in whatever level of scouting, they can be stuck. And one of the reasons they're stuck is because they have the Abilene paradox. Nobody wants to say anything. And they all collectively make a dumb decision that nobody wanted to do. And afterwards, they all say, well, I didn't want to do that, and I didn't want to do that. But the next thing they know, boom, they made the decision, and it was bad. Because they don't have an environment to where they can honestly state their opinion. Where somebody can say, you know what, I don't think that's a good idea. And everybody says, well, let's listen to what you have to say about that. And everybody says, you know, I think that's a bad idea too. It could be to fundraising, it could be to an event, it could be to whatever. But your level of scouting, whatever that is, unit, district, council, you have to have an environment where people can be honest and state their opinion. And you might be surprised because they may be saying what everybody else is thinking, but nobody wants to say anything, and a dumb decision is made. Okay, here's your 10 questions. You understand those 3 basic responsibilities, right? Recruit, retain, sustain. You have the right scouters in the right positions. Is there an elephant in the room that has to be talked about? You know, those elephants, they can get smelly and they can grow bigger and fatter and just crap all over the place. And no, you don't want that. You got to deal with the elephant in the room. You know, are you giving your 1 hour a week, in quotes? anything broken needs fixed? How and how often are you connecting with others? What must we never lose sight of? Yeah, it's that instilling those values. You understand the most important relationship of all, leader to scout. The second, leader to leader. And does your group allow for honest and open dialogue? Big question. So thank you so much for listening, paying attention. I appreciate that. If you have any questions or anything, if there's any way I could help you, there's my name, there's my email. It's real easy to remember. CR Relates, Central Region Relates, CR Relates at gmail.com. You can email me if you have any questions or if I can be of help in any way, shape, or form.